The police lights strobed across my cabin like a false sunrise. 2 officers stepped out, hands resting on their belts, while Karen pointed at me from her deck, screeching, "That man's trespassing." What she didn't know, what nobody knew, was that she was accusing her own landlord. My name's Daniel, and all I wanted was peace. After 20 years in the army and a divorce that left me feeling like roadkill, I inherited my grandfather's cabin on Lake Haven. 2 acres of pine, a dock older than I am, and a sunrise that painted the water like gold every morning. The lake community had always been simple. 4 to some homes scattered around 8 miles of shoreline. A mix of retirees, fishermen, and summer families. The only rule we lived by was unspoken. Wave when you pass, lend a hand when needed, and mind your own business the rest of the time. For 2 years, it was paradise. Then she arrived. Karen Carmichael, strutting into town in her bright white SUV and moving into the biggest McMansion on the lake. Within days, she was introducing herself as president of the Lake Haven Homeowners Association. Except, as I would soon find out, there was no such HOA on my deed, or anyone else's for that matter. I first met her on my dock. It was early morning, coffee in my hand, fishing line cast out, when the putter of her oversized pontoon boat broke the calm. She pulled up wearing a cardigan white enough to blind seagulls and a plastic smile glued to her face. "Good morning, neighbor. I'm Karen Carmichael, president of the Lake Haven HOA. I'm here on official business." She handed me a manila envelope with more flair than a game show host. Inside was a letter dripping with legal jargon. "Your property does not meet community aesthetic standards. Immediate compliance required." I nearly spit out my coffee. "What HOA? My family's owned this land since before you were born." Karen's smile cracked, eyes flashing like January ice. "This lake is a community, and communities need rules. That rusty aluminum boat of yours? I saw. The fishing gear lying around? Makes the place look like a dump. We have standards." I set my mug down so hard it rang against the railing. "Lady, there's no HOA here, and if you think I'm joining your little club, you're out of luck." Her mask slipped entirely. "We'll see about that," she hissed, before gunning the pontoon away, her perfume and gasoline fumes hanging in the air like a warning. From that day, it was war. A week later, I found a notice taped to my cabin door demanding $500 for dock violations. Another claimed my fire pit was environmentally hazardous. None of it held legal weight, but I knew the game: confuse people with paperwork, scare them into paying. Then came the phone calls. County code enforcement showed up after anonymous complaints. One poor inspector admitted mine was the 20th call from Karen in 6 months. Neighbors started whispering about receiving their own threats, fines for bird feeders, warnings about mailbox colors. She was turning the lake into her personal kingdom, and anyone who didn't bow down got the hammer. And when intimidation didn't work, she called the cops. At dawn one Saturday, I was sitting on my dock when the sirens flashed. 2 officers got out, Karen in her robe, shrieking that I was trespassing on her lakefront. I kept calm, showing the officers my deed and proof. They exchanged looks that said they'd been here before. But I knew I had more than just paperwork on my side. I was holding a card she had no idea existed. That morning, the younger cop tried to sound stern. "Sir, we've had reports you're trespassing on private property." I invited them inside for coffee, because if you're going to be falsely accused at dawn, you may as well be civilized. While they sipped from my grandfather's chipped mugs, I laid out my evidence. Property deed, security camera footage, even statements from neighbors about Karen's harassment. Sergeant Miller, the older officer, shook his head, muttering, "We've been called out here half a dozen times. Nothing adds up." I leaned back in my chair. "Gentlemen, what she doesn't know is that she's accusing her own landlord." They both looked up, confused. I hadn't planned to reveal it then, but holding back was becoming unbearable. The truth was bigger than a false police report. Karen thought she was untouchable. She had no idea she was living on borrowed time. Literally. A few weeks earlier, I'd been at my grandfather's lawyer's office, reviewing dusty old estate papers. That's when Arthur, our family attorney, dropped the bomb. Daniel, your grandfather didn't just leave you the cabin. He created the Lake Haven Property Trust. You control 4 properties, including the mansion Ms. Carmichael rents. I nearly choked. You're telling me Karen's been paying rent to me this whole time? Arthur slid a thick lease agreement across the desk. 2 months behind, multiple violations, running unauthorized business activities. She's been operating illegal vacation rentals out of the property. The irony was so thick it could have been served at a county fair. The woman who'd been threatening me with fake HOA fines had been cutting checks into my pocket, and failing to even do that properly. For weeks, I let her play Queen of the Lake while I built my case. Every violation she wrote me, I documented. Every police report she filed, I counted. The community, once fractured, began rallying behind me as her lies unraveled. And then came the decision. Should I evict her quietly, or expose the truth for everyone to see? I chose the latter. Because some lessons need to be public. It all came to a head at the town council meeting. Word had spread. Neighbors packed the gymnasium like it was playoff night. Karen strutted in with a lawyer in tow, her white suit practically glowing under the fluorescent lights. She carried herself like she was about to crown herself queen. I walked to the podium, manila folder in hand. For months, Ms. Carmichael has harassed this community under the false pretense of an HOA. Tonight, the truth. I projected documents onto the screen. Property deeds, trust papers, the lease agreement. Gasps filled the room when I said the words, "I am Karen Carmichael's landlord." The place erupted. Laughter, applause, even a few shouts of "I knew it." Karen's face cycled through colors like a broken traffic light. She screamed about conspiracies. Her lawyer tried to calm her, but the crowd wasn't buying it. Then I held up the eviction notice. 30 days to vacate. For multiple lease violations. The standing ovation drowned out her protests. For the first time, Karen realized her empire had crumbled. Karen packed up and left within 2 weeks, her McMansion dark and silent. The lake breathed again, neighbors waving like old times, the water calm without her storm of entitlement. For me, the lesson was clear. Document everything, know your rights, and never let a bully rewrite the rules. Sometimes justice isn't about winning in court. Sometimes it's about discovering you held all the cards from the start, and watching the queen of the fake HOA fold when she realizes the landlord she mocked was the one person she could never control.